You're listening to episode 92 of the Play Therapy Community Podcast.
Welcome to Play Therapy Community Podcast, providing connection, information, and inspiration to child therapists all around the world. Here's your host, a licensed psychotherapist, a registered play therapist, and my mom, Jackie Flynn.
Hi there, Jackie Flynn here. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Play Therapy Community Podcast. I really love that we get to share this experience together. So at the time of this recording, it's my birthday. So I was thinking instead of bringing a guest on, I would just record this episode by myself. And what I wanted to do is just share some of the main lessons, my top 3 main lessons as a play therapist with you to kind of honor that wisdom that we gain over time in the aging process. I know for years I kind of dreaded getting older. I kind of dreaded the change that would bring, but it turns out the change that aging brings can be pretty cool. So don't get me wrong, things definitely look and they feel different, but in a good way. I don't even know if I have the words to describe it, but I have had a really good year and I'm looking forward to more good years, and aging can be pretty cool. So for whatever that means to you, I just want to kind of put that out there. All right. So in this episode, I want to share with you my top 3 main lessons in play therapy. So the first one by far is being with. I remember when I was first trained as a therapist, and I came to it from the teaching world, from a school counseling perspective, from a middle school teacher perspective. And in the teaching world, there's a lot of doing. There's a lot of lesson planning. There's a lot of do this and do that, and it fits really well in the academic world. But in the therapy world, not so much. So my first lesson is be with. Stop trying to do and just be. Be authentically who you are. Connect with the client in a human to human way, in a way that doesn't come with any pre-designed worksheets that you have an agenda for. Just showing up in sessions, showing up in the relationship as a human being, helping another human being with. It kind of draws me back to one of the earliest videos that I saw in my play therapy training was of Dr. Gary Landreth with the little girl in the playroom, and he was just with her. She was putting on the blood pressure cuff, and she said, I want to take your blood. And he just responded in his reflective way. We call it tracking in play therapy. And it was just so beautiful. He didn't expect her to be or do anything differently than what she was doing and who she was at the time. That is so very safe. It allows these sessions, it allows the therapeutic work to go where it needs to go without us actually getting in the way. We can be very supportive. That therapeutic relationship, which being with really supports like nothing else, that therapeutic relationship truly is the foundation of the therapeutic experience. It pulls me back to one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Stephen Porges is safety is the treatment. Being with is safe. It is safe, and it really supports just this experiential, I'm able to experience whatever I need to experience to feel this, to move past it, and I'm not alone. So be with. That's number 1. Okay, so my second lesson, know the importance of nature and movement. Oh, I did not even realize this. Actually, I would say I always kind of knew it, but I didn't include it in my therapeutic work until I really became inspired. I don't even know if that even starts to like explain how much the influence that Dr. Janet Courtney and Jamie Lynn Langley have on me. They've really kind of brought that out in me, like the importance of nature and movement in sessions. Nature offers this equilibrium like nothing else. And movement, when we think about our bodies, our nervous systems, and I love the polyvagal theory and how it teaches us how our nervous system actually stores this energy. And with movement that goes all throughout our body, we can discharge this energy and process through things in a much quicker way. So I do lots of sessions in nature. I support clients in really including more natural experiences in their life and movement. I'm an EMDR trained therapist as well, so I include like lots of movement, maybe in an unconventional way. Instead of doing, say, bilateral stimulation with some electronic devices that maybe buzz one side or the other, I may have the client walk it out, or we walk and move or stomp it out, or more of these playful ways of be the gorilla or something like that, to offer that right left alternative stimulation in the body to be able to process. So nature and movement is fantastic. And when you do it in a way that's being with, it goes to such a deep level. I work with all ages, and one of my favorite things to do is to meet people on the beach early morning before the sunrise. We meet, and I do EMDR therapy on the beach with them, an intensive usually. Sometimes people fly in from out of town, or they will either like even take like half a day off of work. If it's an adult, they will take half a day off of work, and we'll do like a multi-hour session to really kind of gain that momentum. But we'll meet before the sunrise, and then with the sunrise, we'll do a little bit of Gestalt therapy for kids. I know whether it's for with a child or adult, I do the same thing. I love what I've learned from the Oaklander model training. Dr. Karen Freed has taught me so much. So I'll have them kind of pick out an element. Sometimes it's the bird, sometimes it's this cloud, sometimes it's a light off into the distance. And then we use the projection techniques to really explore their strengths, their struggles, to enhance that sense of self. And then once the sun rises, or as it's rising, we'll proceed through the phases of EMDR therapy, which involves, drawing in the sand. They may draw the target. Sometimes we even do a little bit of yoga movements for phase 2, just regaining that capacity for affect regulation, knowing that we're getting ready to dive into some of these really tough things that we're going to work on later on in the session. And then I'll have them draw the image that goes with it in the sand. I'll go through all those pieces of EMDR therapy, and we will walk. Sometimes right in the water, like in the real shallow part of the shore, and we'll walk for the bilateral. We'll be quiet, taking in just all of the sensory pieces, the sight, the sound, the smells, the texture. It's fantastic. So nature, movement, all of that is really important. And we can notice our work go to much greater depths when we include nature and movement. So that's the second one. Okay, my third one. If you know me, you probably know that I love to read. I love to take trainings too, but I have slowed down. When I say slowed down, I'm probably still taking a lot of trainings compared to maybe the average, but reading is definitely my thing. I think about when people write something, they really do their best to put their best stuff in the book, and they do it in a way that's well thought out, it's thorough. There's checks, people read it, give them feedback, so it's fine-tuned. You can get a lot of growth from reading books from those who you are super inspired by. And I do want to say that it's important not to just read books. When I love therapy books, I love therapy books. And I read, some of them several times over. But it is really helpful to read some fiction. Roten Breyer taught me that, about the importance of just adding a little bit of fiction. It adds some creativity, and it just kind of wakes things up in a different way. So I love reading. I love reading. It like improves my knowledge bank. It really deepens what I know. I've most recently read Dr. Bonnie Botnock's Brainwise. Like every day pretty much. I listen. When I say read, I like to listen on Audible. Listen to Lisa Dion's Aggression and Play Therapy. That book is fantastic. Yes Brain by Dr. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. There's just way too many to list here. Dr. Mona Delahook's Beyond Behaviors is fantastic. So I love to read. It helps to just strengthen my therapeutic capacity, and it's amazing how when I read, I can really notice in my parent consultations or as I'm in session, this knowledge is applicable. I can then mix it in with all of my other knowledge and my experiences in life, my depth of information, and in some way, that knowledge that I've read can be really, really applicable and beneficial. So I do read books, listen to books over and over again. I think The Body Keeps the Score. I might have listened to that like 17 or 18 times. Or Childhood Disruptive. Some of them can kind of really take your nervous system to a different state. So you want to be mindful that you want to take it in small doses, because some of the stories that we hear in these books can be dysregulating, but very helpful. And it's interesting, like how the dysregulating stories sometimes can inspire us. So my very favorite book, like literally my favorite book of all time, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It is such it's a story where you think that would like kick you into like a state of depression, but it is incredible. It inspires me. It lets me really it's a huge reminder. Lets me remember the strength that I have that's far beyond where I think that that I can go. So it's a story of survival. It's a story of being able to have meaning. There's a quote in there by Friedrich Nietzsche that when there's a why, there's a how. I think the actual quote is like, he who has a why can bear almost any how. And that quote, it really inspires me. So read magazine articles. I think about the Association for Play Therapy puts out such a great journal. Oh, their magazine is really good. And if you're an EMDR therapist, EMDRIA puts out a great Go With That magazine. That one's really good. Just being able to, asked for recommendations from your friends. And our Facebook group, Play Therapy Community Facebook group, a lot of times people share that the books that they love, and I'll put a post up there just asking for people to share. So we inspire each other in that way too. It helps us to just it helps our imagination. We think about play therapy, creativity is huge. Helps us to really be creative, helps us to grow our imagination, and really enhances our knowledge. All right, so just to recap, lesson number 1, be with. Lesson number 2, incorporate lots of nature and movement, if that is an option for you. And the third one, read. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Play Therapy Community Podcast. If you would like to learn more or just reconnect with more people, when I say reconnect, maybe it's even the beginnings of this journey and play therapy with you, or maybe you're just curious, wherever you are at with play therapy. You can visit playtherapycommunity.com, or you can also join us in the Facebook group, Play Therapy Community, and I have my Innovative Child Therapy Symposium coming up. It's our 4th one. That I'm just now starting the recording for that, but that goes live in February. I love that. I'm just now inviting people, and I'm super excited. I can't wait to tell you what that one's going to include. It's going to be the best one. That's something that I've really enjoyed doing. All right. Well, until we meet again, remember to be with, know the importance of nature, movement in your work with kids, and read, read, read. All right. Take care. Bye now.